bathrooms and kitchen are the next projects.
Oh, okay. So you guys are doing a full remodel on your house there?
Yeah, that's what we did last year instead of, so we're 1 year anniversary was on Halloween.
Hmm.
And we redid the house instead of putting money into a venue. We actually redid the house. So,
Well, that's cool. That's real nice. And you guys are here in the Albuquerque area, correct?
right. Yeah. We're over
Oh,
here in the Rio Bravo area.
oh, okay, cool. That's really good. Excellent. So, and everything went good this weekend. You guys had with yourself, with trainers and appointments, and I'm not saying not trainers, with clients and everything.
Yeah, I usually don't work Saturdays, but I usually have my massage clients on Saturdays. So
Oh,
it's
nice.
still a work day, you know?
Yeah, understand. Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me here today, Daniel. For those of you that are watching us now, this is Daniel Rocha. He's one of our ambassadors here at BodyFrame, has extensive years of experience in personal training, and just we're pleasure to have him on the team and just value all of his insight and everything that he does for us. So I just, really just, Daniel, wanted to just have just a candid conversation here, learn more about you, kind of get your perspective on personal training and where you kind of see, the industry, how it's changed since you've been associated with it for some time, and just learn more about you. So why don't we go ahead and start a little bit more about your background. Tell me about, why you got started personal training, your history. I know you used to compete and all those good things. I would like to learn more about
Wow, that's a
that.
that's a 20 year plus year question, man. So I, I still remember paying, 40, $60 per session. And now, with the internet, everything has changed. But I got into fitness training because I was actually a semi-pro soccer player.
Hmm.
I was going through college and I needed something to kind of help pay my bills. So my parents always helped me out with tuition and things like that, but all my other living expenses I had to take care of. So training clients at 4 o'clock in the morning, right before the gym opened, that's how I got started. So so even though I opened up the gym at 4:30 in the morning, I'd start training clients at 4 a.m. So it's kind of put a little sneaker thing on the side,
How did
but you
they
got to
feel
do
about
what you
that?
got to do to put food on the table. You know what I mean?
How did they feel about saying, "Well, you got to meet me at 4"? Did you get any pushback? Like, dang, that's
I,
kind of
I
rude.
never I never got in trouble, but the owner of Golds at the time, as long as I kept the place neat and clean. I remember him telling me to just keep the place neat and clean, and I was like, okay. I kind of figured he knew, but I was like, is only half an hour. I never clocked in until my actual time clocked in, but
Yeah.
I train anywhere between 2 or 3 clients in half an hour. So
Oh, nice, nice.
it's how the whole half hour came up for me, because this is all I ever do is half-hour sessions.
All right, excellent. So so being in Gold's Gym, is that where you started to like want to start in the competition scene? Like, how did you get started in that?
Competing, it actually got started when EAS came out, the supplement company EAS.
I remember.
And it was the first creatine product called Phosphagain. So
Uh-huh.
of course I was 20 years old at the time. And so we wanted to get big. It was just like, go to the gym and just get big. And so we thought Phosphagain was going to be the miracle worker. I started doing some fun, hot body contests. We're 20 years old doing the college party thing. And
In the hot bod contest, did you win?
yes, and I used to win them all. So I was like, oh, you should compete. I didn't even understand what that was. You know what I mean? So I was, yeah, so you should
win them all.
So I started competing, you know what I mean? So I found out there was an actual show here in Albuquerque. And I did my first show here, and I got third in the lightweight open and then second in the lightweight novice. So, and that's how I got started,
Yeah. So do you have a long history of competing, or that was that one time and that was that?
No, yeah, actually I just recently retired. I think this is my 3rd year of not competing.
Oh, wow.
It took 10 years of getting my ass whooped to really start getting good at bodybuilding. And I don't think some of these new guys understand that. They think they're going to go to the gym, diet one time, take some drugs, and it's all going to come to place. And it doesn't happen like that. So I didn't start winning shows until about 10 years into the bodybuilding career, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and then I spent the next 10 years, I placed top 5 twice at the nationals. And then I got a pec injury, a pec tear, and it was so hard to get top 5 back. So that's when I realized it didn't matter how in shape I could come. You know, a flawed physique is a flawed physique. So, but I was so close to turning pro.
Well, that's good. That's interesting perspective. And I think that that's really important, because with like Instagram now, you see everyone's highlight reel, you know, you see like all these pictures, especially like BodyFrame, like on our Instagram account, like that's where we manage everything. So when you go to your discovery, you just see like all these top physiques all the time. And I think people that are getting in the fitness scene or been in the fitness scene, they may expect that's the result they're going to have. But I mean, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of dedication and commitment. I mean, seeing a highlight reel all the time can sometimes be to people maybe get discouraged because like, why don't I look like that? Or why haven't I received those results? And, you know, maybe try to take shortcuts or do what they need to. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, I have some friends that are in bodybuilding and the same thing, and they've been doing it for years. And I think even now, like I've seen their recent photos and they just look like spectacular. You're like, wow.
Yeah. My when I was coming up, the hardest thing to accept was that PEDs were part of the sport. You know, everybody wanted to believe that, oh, everybody's natural. But, you know, nowadays with the internet and Instagram, everybody's using something and they talk about it freely. So, and I think now it's people don't want to put in that time anymore, you know? So it takes about 7 to 12 years of hard training to get that, what we call muscle density and that muscle maturity. So you could be really lean, but then you get on stage and you get the oil and the lights and there's like, man, you just look a little soft. And that's the reason why, you know what I mean? It's just the years of training, diet, get a little heavy, you know, to really condition that muscle it takes time.
Yeah. So how do you feel about like people, you know, taking like drugs to enhance their performance and, you know, reach their optimal physique to compete or even speed up the process? I mean, and I know it's like, I don't want to say taboo, but I think it's like, how do I put it? Because I just read a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? I read that, you know, the people that don't know about it, they're like, oh my God, you're going to like die and you're going to have a heart attack and you're going to go bald and all this craziness. And then on the other side, like, it's like, well, you know, that's like, if you look at extreme, like you abuse it, if you're responsible. I don't know much about it, but, you know, what is your take on that whole scene of people doing that?
Number one, I think people should actually really look at their health. When I was coming up, of course, when you're in your 20s, you think you're invincible. I think some of the things that worked towards my advantage, and I didn't even realize it till now that I'm out of the game, things weren't really that easily accessible. You know, so it's not like we could go to Walgreens and say, hey, can I get 3 bottles of testosterone? And, you know, so, you know, ordering product at the time, and this was I'm talking about, I was on dial-up, you know what I mean? So,
oh man,
you know what I mean? So you couldn't get things. So when you got something, you know, we used very little, you know what I mean? And I wasn't using it to watch my health. I was using it because like, this is all I could find in a month or two. I got to make this one little bottle of whatever last as long as I could. You know, I did a couple of shows just with D-ball and you know, and even then, so I believe a lot of the 90 bodybuilders that, you know, like Lee Priest says, I only use test and DECA. I really do believe it really wasn't that hard. It was really hard to get things, and nobody was doing the backyard chemist thing like they are now on the internet, and that's kind of scary.
That is scary. You never know what you're getting, you know? You
know, now that my career's over and I'm watching a lot of friends have injuries, die, you know, it's allowed me in my career to get my clients to get blood work, pay attention. I never went more than 750 milligrams of testosterone for a week for a show. And this was weekly, but then I hear all the time 1,000 milligrams, 1,200 milligrams too. And I try to tell the guys that come to me, I'm like, okay, if you're using 1,000 milligrams now for this local show, what are you going to use for the nationals? 2,000? What are you going to use when you turn pro? 3,000? I'm like, you're not allowing your body, you're not allowing your body to actually adapt to what you're taking. It's like if nobody's ever used Tylenol before, you have a headache. One Tylenol is going to work. You don't need to take 6.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, is that a lot? I mean, what do you say? There's 3,000, 2,000. Is that a lot?
well, a friend of mine, Dallas McCarver, rest in peace now. They did his autopsy, and he had 10,000 milligrams of testosterone in his system. I mean, that's what today's pros are on. I mean, it's astronomical. When actually, and if to put people in perspective, your natural high testosterone is 1,100. Wow. So when you're past 1,100, you're in super physiological levels. Mm-hmm. So some of these pros that have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, maybe the top Olympia guys have 8 to 10,000. That's a lot. It's astronomical. So, I don't think people understand, what that means,
I'm sure it puts a lot of stress on the body for sure.
It does. And these guys got to learn to take their breaks. You know what I mean? So, and I don't know if a lot of them do. I know there's some coaches that push, get your blood work, take your break. But a lot of them think cruise now. I went from 1,200 milligrams a week to 200 milligrams a week. That's getting off. You're like, you never got off. You're still taking something, So there is no studies yet that testosterone has its impact on coronary work. But now that there actually are doing TRT programs, I'm sure in the next 3 to 5 years, there'll be lots of studies on the effects of testosterone immediately, not just long-term.
Yeah, exactly. So you're talking about the testosterone replacement therapy, correct?
Right. So now that there is such a thing as andropause, and men are, and I've seen a lot of my kids being 22 years old, 24 years old with only 200 milligrams of free testosterone. The low is 240. I'm like, wow, man, this is a result of playing video games instead of going out and playing a game.
Exercising.
No more hard labor. Everybody's on their phones and in Starbucks. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nobody's working anymore, so the body has no reason to produce testosterone. So
that's a good point. Maybe that's why everyone's so sensitive these days.
You know what? That's another reason. Again, rest in peace, author El Rey. That's his pen name for some of the books that I was in with him. He actually gave me the explanation of hormones. So Hispanic men are always known for being macho.
Yeah.
But we're also known when we get drunk, we get very emotional. You're like, I love you, man. I love you. Now, the reason is because we have both high testosterone and high estrogen levels. So that kind of helps us to be more macho and sensitive at the same time. So this is why, some guys take it overboard. You know what I mean? It was actually a very cool explanation when he gave it to me. So
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, you brought up a lot of good points, and I'm just having like an open, candid conversation here. I mean, that's what these videos I've been doing, is just really getting to know you and your knowledge and just your perspective. So I'm enjoying this part of our conversation. But you brought up some good points of, now like stuff's just so readily available. You know what I mean? And because I was in the competition team, but I didn't get into the bodybuilding. I just did like, the model stuff, get lean and that's it, so I didn't have to do any of the drugs. But I have people and friends I know, and it's just like, oh yeah, I get to hear my buddy has this thing. Like, wow, it's like that simple. It's like, and I was kind of asking them, questions about this. And I said, well, why is it that it's illegal? And one of the explanations one of them gave me was, well, back in the 80s, before then, you could go like get it at the pharmacy, whatever you need. But it was because the Olympians were starting to use it, and it caused an unfair advantage. So they had to ban it to create that. So once they banned it there, now it was just a banned substance. And I guess that was the history behind it. I mean, do you know anything about that?
The actual history, I do not, but I do know that the WWF at the time, with them going to court, where I know Vince McMahon, Hulk Hogan, all these guys at the time. And I think this is around Rocky III, the movie Rocky III.
Yeah.
That's when it became illegal because someone popularized it, and it was taboo. So yeah, I know Arnold Schwarzenegger always spoke openly about it on air. There was a 2020 special with Barbara Walters, and she asked about steroids, and I take it 3 times a day. they said abort. They cut the commercial and they said, no, don't talk about it, you know? So
Yeah.
I truly do not know the history, but I do know around the WWF getting busted and something about the Olympics with Ben Johnson, where he got busted for the sprint. Remember, he was taking Winstrol, so that, you know, everything labeled everybody as cheaters. And then from there, you know,
Yeah.
but the legal, the actual legal story, I do not know, you know,
because there's like a lot of international fitness personalities. And I know like in other countries, it's as simple as just walking to like a pharmacy. Like you can go and it's different. This is like a US based thing.
Yeah, the Middle East right now, especially right now, currently, the Middle East is the bodybuilding hot zone. So, I mean, everybody's now going to Kuwait to go train. If you can get invited by Bader Bodai, he pretty much takes care of you. Go train and you live as a bodybuilder for 3 months. You know what I mean? They put you up in this, it's like a dormitory just of bodybuilding, you know, but the drugs there are legal, you know what I mean? So, you know, I've never been there. It's just stories that my friends tell me that some of them have gone and come back. I mean, so the current Mr. Olympia trains in Kuwait. So
there you go. There's the testament to that. Excellent. All right. Well, I mean, I've enjoyed this part of our conversation. Kind of want to switch gears. I mean, being with all your expertise, I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of knowledge in the fitness space. And you've been around the whole spectrum from starting to, you know, just to, you know, pay your bills as a young kid, and then now more experienced and advanced and a lot more knowledge gain. I mean, where do you see the trend of, you know, the fitness industry going? What are your thoughts, let's say, in the next 5-10 years, and what's going to be something that's growing now that is going to change? I mean, is social media making a big impact on all the fitness? I mean, what have you seen from like 10 years ago to 10 years now, and then 10 years in the future?
Well, 10 years ago, I think being a fitness trainer was super lucrative because you could charge $60 a session, you know, and even sometimes more depending on where your location was at. It was one-on-one. It then evolved to group training, and now it's it's geared towards the internet. I see some people starting to do boot camp classes, which, if people remember about 5-10 years ago, those were aerobics classes and those were free. And now people pay for those things. So it's cheap because you can group train. But as a fitness trainer, especially in this area, you have to group train. You can't do the $60 an hour anymore. It just, every area, every demographic has its limitations, you know. Sure. But with Instagram, social media, Facebook, almost everybody and their mothers is a fitness coach. Yeah. And I applaud that everybody has an entrepreneurial spirit, but it does hinder the ones that actually have an education in this area.
Wants to be a trainer.
You know, I'm like, man, I will never put anybody's worth down in terms of, everybody's got to make a living.
Sure.
But I've had to fix so many issues and false information because they got it from a guy who did a bodybuilding show once and now he's a fitness coach. You know, he has no diet experience, you know.
That's very popular now. A lot of people.
Yeah, and there's so many people that do boot camp classes that offer nutrition, but then they don't realize they have people that have real health elements, you know, and from diabetes and cardio disease and cardiovascular disease. I have clients that have renal failure. So that's a whole different diet. I have people that actually have the lap band and gastric bypass. That's a whole different diet too. You just can't give them high protein and stuff like that. You actually really have to know your nutrition. And I've been very lucky to have my nutrition background from the University of Texas at El Paso and the University of New Mexico. Yeah. And on top of that, having done every diet because of bodybuilding allowed me to see what it feels like to be on that diet. Because there's a lot different between dieting and eating healthy.
Sure.
And so most people will lose a little bit of weight eating healthy, but then they becomes plateaued because they're inconsistent with calories and number of meals a day, blah, blah, blah. So when you diet, you're in a box and it's easy to adjust that box, you know, but getting people to diet, because then you have to understand people's religion and race and ethnicity and
yeah, there's a lot to it.
their economic, status. I mean, I can give people, this is your supplement list, and they look at like, oh my God, I can't afford that. I'm like, well, your health can't afford it. So
you got to pick.
I mean, it's so I do my best to help people, economically, but because I get the question, do I need these? And I'm like, wow, you need food, water, shelter. But if we get some blood work done, you actually do need these things. So to get them back into health. And now the craze now, I think veganism is now the big craze. I just remember last year it was keto that was the big craze. And these things have been around for 30, 40 years, So Atkins has been around since the 50s, but it got a resurge just a few years ago. And now with these vegan documentaries on Netflix, now everybody wants to be vegan.
Yeah.
It's completely ridiculous, but you got to roll with the trends,
You got to roll with it. Huh. And you brought up some good points that it's always going to be changing, but it's nothing new. It's just repackaged from something that was, 20, 30, even 40 years ago. So, maybe something that was like 20 years is now going to be the next thing next year. So it's just kind of like same thing, different packaging, different story behind it. And then that's just gonna be the craze. And then another thing you brought up, which is really important, is that like, unlike yourself, you're educated, you have degrees, you've studied this, you've put in the time. You're right. Like there are a lot of people, and I've seen this a lot, and there's been companies that have actually gone under because they let their ambassadors or their people that work for them, they're trainers, but that's what they do is it's just like they take all these people in, they do like this really, because the internet, which is, it's awesome. I can't complain. I mean, I'm the age of the internet. Everything we do is web-based. So, I mean, I love it. But I could see how, they have trainers that are like, yeah, it's like just, $199, everyone gets in. But then what they're doing is they're just copying and pasting the same thing to everybody. And it's just volumes. And you're right. Like they want to show, or maybe they did a photo shoot, they look good, and now all of a sudden they're like an expert, which is the farthest thing from the truth. And I think people have to be careful of who they take their information from, especially to be training, because now, like again, with like Instagram, everyone on there looks phenomenal that you see in the highlight reel, and it's hard to decipher what's real, what's not, and then getting there, because now everyone's a coach. You click on their bio, it's like, oh, I'm a coach, but what is going to be best for the person, and I think just having that background in education is so important, because it is your health, it's your long-term that long-term vision. Like you may look good or do something like, I don't know.
Well, and the body's constantly changing. I mean, I started with this is an example of a lady I've worked with for 2 years. So we started off, with low calories, and then we led into ketogenic dieting. Mm-hmm. And she lost 30 pounds. But I said, you know what, let's get some blood work done. Make sure you're doing okay. Turned back, her lipid profile came back really bad. So we're like, we got to get off this keto diet. It's not good for you. It worked because it dropped 30 pounds, but she's going to be dead if we keep doing this because her lipid profile is bad. So we had to change her back, get off leave some essential fatty acids, get her back. We went to a very low calorie diet. She lost more weight, about another 20 pounds. And then she came up with breast cancer. And we're like, oh, wow. Okay. So she got the tumor removed. And we still had to go through chemo. We still had to go through these things. So again, we had to adjust the diet again, because we have to now use an anti-inflammatory diet, during this anti-inflammatory diet and her keto, the doctor still wanted her to lose more weight. So we're like, okay, we got to lose a little more weight. So then she dropped another 12 pounds. So she's down almost 70 pounds now.
Wow.
She's cancer free.
That's awesome.
But this is a woman in 2 years, what I work with. It's not the competition look. It's how the body changes and adapts. We started with keto. The body didn't like it, as far as lipid profile. Then her body has cancer. We got to do something to fight that and aid the chemotherapy, that she endured. And now she's cancer free, and she wants to eat what she wants, but now she knows food portioning. She understands macros. She understands these things. And so when we have her a weight, you know, if she goes over this weight, she's got to diet down a little bit. If she's under this weight, certain weight, then she can eat a little bit more and, you know, get what she wants.
Sure.
But she gets regular blood work now to make sure everything's just fine. Cause now she realizes that every 3 to 6 months, it's good to get your blood work done.
Got it. That's good to know.
But this is, I don't think coaches on the internet do this. This is what I do. It's not just, hey, you know what, eat chicken and rice and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not being asparagus.
the other big one that people don't realize right now is how many people are on antidepressants and mental health chemistry.
Sure.
That's a whole nother different diet to give to people to understand what's going to work for them. You know, kids with autism, that's another huge one. You know, people with autism have another different diet that need to be looking at. Again, it's not just chicken and rice. So,
Sure.
and so when I see these people, I'm a coach, you're like, where's the emoji?
Yeah. Like, okay.
Yeah, it kills me, man. It kills me.
I mean, I think being that you and I, we both are in the same city, I think that's more prevalent here. I don't know why, but I've noticed everyone here's a competitor, everyone here's a coach, everyone here, I just see it all the time. And if you are, great. I'm not like putting you down. I mean, that's your profession. That's awesome. I just see like some people, they win something and now all of a sudden they're an expert. And I just think that that's a dangerous trend long-term for people that want to, you know, really get into that space, you know?
I agree. And the continuous education, you know, like I said, I was in school. I got my education in nutrition from University of New Mexico and at UTEP in El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
It led to psychology, you know, how to understand and motivate people. People communicate differently. I mean, I still read relationship books, not just for my own home and personal life, but it actually helps
so
professionally with clients.
What's your love language?
Oh, you know, I'm a terms of endearment, man, but or like, you know, I'm a bodybuilder. You got to tell me I look good, man. I mean, it's, you know, I'm like, that's just, my wife refuses to tell me I look good. So
you have to say I look good every day.
Every day. She goes, no, you already know. I don't need to tell you that. I'm like, that's the whole point, hon. But okay.
You don't love me no more. You don't tell me.
Yeah, exactly. So it is pretty funny. But yeah, that would be my love language is terms of endearment.
Awesome. So being with like everything we discussed on fitness and, you know, training online, offline, you know, expertise. I mean, how do you feel, you know, with BodyFrame? What is BodyFrame going to do? What do you see how is it going to help the industry? What impact do you believe it's going to make for trainers? You know, what is your overall take on BodyFrame? Obviously being with your expertise and your knowledge, I mean, saying, hey, I want to be behind this app. Obviously there's some belief, obviously. But what do you think of the concept of BodyFrame and what it's going to do to help the fitness space?
Well, I don't know if you guys got my 1-minute video, but I mean, I brought up my composition notebook, and that's how I started. You know, I didn't keep files, everybody. I kept a notebook on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I could, you know, flip back. Oh yeah, and this now with technology, when computers came out, I mean, this is how long I've been doing it, man. I mean, I started a notebook to the desktop. Mm-hmm. Where we had, you know, Word and Excel and all these other little programs, which were cool. Then the internet came up and I didn't have to use the book, the calorie finder book, because I had several of those. You know, I could go to calorieking.com and, you know, get the calories right away. Now I use several apps. I mean, now that these phones are so fancy, I have several apps I use, you know, from what we're using right here with Zoom. Mm-hmm. Which is just kind of an upgrade to Skype. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's when I was using that when that first came out. Now Facebook and Instagram have their own video, you know, messaging kind of ways to getting paid, man. I mean, now everybody does some sort of point of sale now, you know, from PayPal to Venmo to Zeal. I mean, there's Apple Pay. Apple Pay does it too. You know what I mean? So, I've been very lucky. I've only had one client ever bounce 2 checks and that's it. You know, I've never had any issues with checks, but I know, but when credit cards came in, I've had so many problems with people. You know, I did the seminar with Bedros Keuilian on, you know, put everybody on EFT. And the problem I had with that is that people's credit cards decline. So it's
Yeah.
nice you have their credit card info, but when you run it on, you know, the 13th of every month or whatever their date is, and now I'm having either to do it myself or hire somebody to go chase down somebody to pay their bill, you know?
Yeah.
So now everything on one app instead of like the 14 different things I just explained. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it makes my life a lot easier, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, it definitely will. And that's been the general thing that I've heard from all these, you know, people I've been speaking to, because I've been doing a lot of these interviews. And that's been the thing is they've always been saying is, one, I have all these different things I have to use, you know, to manage my clients. And some of them travel all the time and they have an online based business for training. And like, you know, getting someone to do all the things I need to do is just kind of takes so much time. My retention goes down because they don't want to do all these things. And then, you know, just the fact of why hasn't there been an app like this that already exists that just does everything in one? I'm not complaining. I think it's awesome. I think, you know, being that like my background, my main company, I own an app development company, a marketing agency, et cetera. So we build and develop apps. So I started thinking like, why is there an app for this? So that's where BodyFrame came to be, you know, like we need an app for this. So I think that's the thing is just having everything into one. You know, you can manage all your clients, you can do all the diets, you do the meal plans, take their payments, you know, you can keep up to date with them. All those things with like your spreadsheets, your Word, your Notepad, you know, all the other apps, it's all into one. And I think that that's, you're saying the same things and it doesn't really matter what industry, because all these trainers I spoke to, they all kind of have their own niche in fitness, but they all are facing the same issues. So I think that's cool. And I saw like we did a poll on one of our Instagram stories, and it was, how do you manage your clients? Do you manage them pen and paper, or do you use an app? Everyone said pen and paper. And I don't think it's because they don't want to use an app. I just don't think there's a good one out there that does what they need. So
yeah, I mean, for myself, I actually use, how I manage my clients is I put them on my iCalendar.
mm-hmm.
So that, because I could put on there, remind myself to charge, you know, bill.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then I can put on there repeat every month. So it comes up where it notifies me where I actually can send them now
Mm-hmm.
their bill and to pay. Do you know what I mean? I used to run their credit cards, but I don't do that anymore. So, I mean, it's just, they actually will come in and they either bring cash or their credit card right away. Cause this way they know they have money.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
you know, because some of them come in and if they know they owe me money, they don't come in. So.
That's funny. Well, I mean,
but keeping manage of my clients, I use probably 2-3 apps right now. You know what I mean? From a note to the calendar to, you know, any other point of sale.
Notes, calendar, and then billing.
Yeah.
You probably use another app for like your calories, probably like MyFitnessPal, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't count calories for my clients. We do more measurements, you know. But in the past, I had to use Excel where I made my own program to count the calories and blah blah blah, break things down into macronutrients, that kind of thing. I usually just want my clients to understand food portioning. So because if they follow, they're eating 3 ounces of rice, we cut it to 2 ounces. That small change makes a huge difference. You know what I mean? But then visually they get to see like what 3 ounces is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Eyeball it.
So I don't teach any more calorie counting, but if people want it, I always write it out for them, you know?
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I've definitely gotten a lot out of this conversation. I've learned a lot about you and your background, and it's been a pleasure spending this time with you, and we're really excited to have you part of our team, and looking forward to, continue to grow a BodyFrame, and we know it's going to help you, increase your business and yeah.
Well, the other reason why I would like to do it, because the industry is, you wanted to go back to your last question, it's evolving, and I don't think that personal training is going to be in gyms very much longer. People are going to get their workouts through an app or through their trainer from some way, shape, or form. I'm starting med school in January.
Oh, nice.
So knowing that I'm going to be studying that much, having my clients already organized on an app here's your workout, and then do my check-ins on one app is going to save me so much time, especially in between anatomy sessions, you know?
I'm sure. Well, I mean, that brings up a good point. Convenience, all in one, save time, client management is all streamlined, and that's what we aim to do with BodyFrame. So
yeah, I mean, this way people can, you know, run their business, still go to school or travel or whatever they need to do. And I did like when you said the other day that the app's also going to have some video messaging. Video messaging now is, in my opinion, the new personal one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because even though I might have, and I have 60 to 80 clients at a time on my roster. So when I get to talk to you for even just 10 minutes, that person feels like you're my only client. So that brings back the personal
element to it.
You know, part of fitness training, even though it's online, you know?
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, yeah, you brought up a good point. I mean, with BodyFrame and the messaging, you can send videos, you record a quick video, send in messages, you can send photos, obviously same text. You can do voice, like memos. So you can hold like the record and press play and it sends it. So, you know, like similar like iPhone, you know, same things. I think anything, even Android, they all do it, but in the app. So it's going to make it that much easier to.
Yeah. So that's going to make things a whole lot easier. You know, like I said, I'm starting med school. I know that's going to take a lot of time. My wife still we do like to do a lot of, you know, weekend travel. So I could still be able to do that and still work, you know what I mean? So, you know, it doesn't take long for me to be on my phone for an hour as we're driving someplace and
get one updated.
Get it done, you know?
Yeah, imagine if you're traveling, you had everything else, you still had your spreadsheets, and you're like, we need to pull over or we need to take a break.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. I mean, we're even so lucky that we just traveled last weekend and to Boston, and I still was able to work on the airplane because they have Wi-Fi. So, but I was opening, you know, 5 different apps. You know what I mean? So now if I could just open one app and send it, boom, it'd be so much easier.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, I think this has been a great conversation, Daniel. I really appreciate your time. I don't want to keep you much longer. I know we've been here now about 40 minutes, but I definitely got a lot out of this interview and just, you know, getting to speak to you face to face and learning about your background. And it's been great, and, you know, really looking forward to what the future holds with us working together in BodyFrame. So again, thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it, man. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you so much, and make it a good one.
Happy Veterans Day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.